Hello guys, and welcome to a Stellaris best species traits slash best government type sort of video. So today I'm going to be talking about one trait in particular that I think is really not anything that you want to even think about using. And today that trait is going to be obviously the rapid breeders trait. So I'm going to talk about why I think this trait is not worth considering, even close to be considering to use. And I'm going to jump right into that before I create what I believe is the best sort of species. I did get this initial idea off of a post which was posted on, I believe it was a Stellaris forum, about what they thought some of the most, what the best style of government and traits were, but obviously this has probably been used by a lot of other people without even looking at that post, so I mean obviously no real copyright there. So I'm going to get right into it. Rapid breeders is not good at all. You don't even want to consider using this in my opinion, and the reasoning behind this is, even if you plan on growing your empire extremely fast, rapid breeders gets done only a little bit quicker, and that's only at 10% growth time. So you can see that down in the information tab about it. It only gives you a growth time of minus 10%, and when you look at that in the grand scale of things, especially when you're growing your empire and you're trying to grow, that is not good. Rapid breeders is only going to get you more population faster than your opponent. It won't actually outrace them if they have more land. More importantly, I think, is the ability to spread out and colonize, because even if you don't initially have a species amount of advantage, eventually that growth time is going to be completely useless, because they will have nowhere else to expand at some point, and mid to late game, this is completely useless. It would be because eventually they're just going to catch up either way, because eventually you're not going to have any more space to grow. And to me, that's just dumb. You should expand your borders as much as possible. This is just my playstyle. Expand your borders out as much as possible, or even if you don't do that type of playstyle, rapid breeders still will not be good for you, because it's only good for the early game, getting that initial population bonus, and even then, your enemies who will eventually just get up to that amount either way. And what I mean by that is that planets have a certain capacity of how many population they can hold. Now, obviously, you're going to get that population faster, but your cap is still the same. And if someone expands more and you focus more on, oh, you think you're fine because rapid breeders obviously gives you faster growth rate, you're wrong. That's not going to help you in the late game in keeping your species the most prominent in the entire galaxy, or entire universe in this case. It will not help you. It's overall a very poor trait to choose, and I had a species that chose rapid breeders. I thought it was going to be good, until I played the game and I realized that it was more important to expand, and that eventually my enemies caught up to me in population and actually exceeded me within 50 years. Which in the terms of Stellaris' length is not long at all. So overall, rapid breeders is something that you want to avoid at all costs, in my opinion. Now, two really good ones that I think, you have to take on some negative traits to do this, but I believe that intelligent, if I can find it, intelligent, because it gives you an overall output boost. And I have no scientists at the moment in my current playthrough that I'm playing by myself. I have no scientists, and it's only taking a few, 60 or so months, and this is just due to a lack of influence, which was caused by war with the fallen empire and a few other scenarios in which a few of my scientists died all at the same time, and then they died again. So obviously, that's just part of the game. That's just something that's going to happen. But intelligence is obviously very good because of that, if it's able to do that for me. Then I also choose conformists, as they are Ethics divergence is very important to me personally in the way that I play my game. My gameplay style is all about controlling my populace and controlling, species that are underneath my rule. So conformist is also very important to me, as I want to make sure that the vast majority of my population doesn't, split off into the. I know, for example, usually there will eventually be at some point once you research a certain technology, it will say a certain species or a certain group on a certain planet has modified themselves genetically, and it's given them different traits, and it causes them to have a massive ethics divergence. Makes them mad because you don't allow alternate species to rule your empire. And even though I think that's something they need to change. They need to make it so that if your group of people splits off into a different, species because of their, environment, they should still be classified as humans, even if they are, genetically modified. They're still humans. So that's something I think that they need to change overall for all species. And then I choose solitary. It's only a -5%. Now, granted, it is a little bit of a pain, but ultimately, I think it's one of the weaker ones that won't really harm your game overall. I still make 300 of each resource of energy and minerals each turn or each month, and I have solitary, which obviously affects their happiness, which affects their output. And I still make that much money, so it's really not that bad in all honesty. And then repugnant is the other one. It says other species happiness -1. Obviously, that's not exactly how it works. But ultimately, I don't really care what other species think about me. I'm able to enforce my rule over them with my military force, which we'll get into the government and ethics part of this. Well, let me enter it. Yes, it will. So, here's what I think. Here's the best, in my opinion, for my type of gameplay style, and if yours is the sort of conquer and maintain control over your people, militarist and materialist, some sort of combination along those lines is really the best for you to go. If you're a pacifist, you're gonna have. It's ultimately a really bad decision. Pacifist isn't bad, obviously. There's been very many successful Let's Plays out there that you can look and see. There's very successful pacifist empires. However, that's just not my type of gameplay style, and a lot of people also agree with this, and pacifist may not be the necessary route that you want to take. Even if you saw someone, do something a certain way, that doesn't mean that you necessarily need to have to do it to have a successful empire. So what I suggest is either do fanatic militarist or fanatic materialist, and then do the opposite of the basic tier. And in this case, I like to go militarist and fanatic materialist, which gives me not only a maximum rivalry increase, weapons damage plus 3%, which late game is pretty good. Trust growth is obviously a problem, but for me, I've managed to keep a very successful ally with that trust growth minus penalty. And obviously this hasn't really affected me that bad. Pop modifier, it doesn't have a pop modifier. Now that's okay in my opinion. War happiness plus 10%, which I think is pretty good. You don't need to worry about your people actually getting mad. And obviously resources, more research is ultimately pretty good, because now this is a plus 25 bonus because of our traits of being intelligent and because of our fanatic materialist. Now obviously if you want to come... Actually, there's one thing I should mention. If you don't want to have negative traits, which I know some people, it really bothers them to have negative traits, you can get rid of conformists. That's obviously just for my playstyle, minus 20%, which, if you have a certain way to play that you don't really care about ethics divergence, that's okay too. I just prefer to have that sort of a boost to happiness along those lines. And then I choose Science Directorate, because it gives you more research alternatives at the start, which is very powerful, especially when you have massive research bonuses. You have an increased Empire leader capacity. Now, the only downfall with this is that I noticed this late game when I mentioned that I was low on influence. your influence, you get that if you were to have, say, indirect democracy every 10 years or maybe every 4 years. There's one in here that's like every 4 years or so. I think it's one of these. If you get an election every 4 years or even every 10 years, that's very powerful because you get 50 influence per ruler mandate every 10 years, which means that you're always going to have some sort of influence. Under a science directorate, you don't get that. You have a ruler who gives you bonuses, but you do not have influence for doing something along those lines, because it's just do this and you get a bonus off of it, or you get a bonus to combat or something along those lines. And another weakness to it is the fact that your scientists, at any time they could, most of the time they do choose to just straight up go and run for president or director, and they get elected, and then you're down to scientists and you have to recruit them. So influence is obviously more of a problem with this style, but it doesn't really bother you too much in terms of research, because like I said, it takes me like 60 some months, and whereas that's not ideal, it's without a scientist, so it's pretty good. So obviously, you can change your species name, your appearance, names list, traits, not traits actually, ruler, you can, change that, flag, government and ethics, empire name, all that stuff's up to you. I usually like to go energy weapons, ship appearance. I don't know, I sort of just like the, actually, there's the planetoid ships. I got that pack. I thought it was pretty cool. I like the design of the ship as well. But arthropod ships, although I do think it's kind of bland, looks kind of very basically modeled at a closer look. But I really like the arthropod ships. I don't know why, they just looked really cool. Obviously, FTL method. This is all up to you. I like to go. I either like to go warp travel or hyperspace travel. Wormhole travel is just kind of tedious to me. It's not that I wouldn't do well with it. It's just that it seems a little bit more tedious that I have to go out and I have to build a wormhole and all that stuff. And then warp travel, obviously, pretty basic. You just warp around, but it does have some disadvantages. And hyperspace obviously has its own disadvantages as well, as because you can get cut off at certain areas and you might not be able to traverse a certain side of the galaxy. So warp travel is ultimately the safest method, because obviously it's for new players. And that's really it. So, also, if you guys want to see a Let's Play of this, let me know. I'm not going to save that empire, obviously. This is just an example. The Galactic Republic is eventually what I called it. For those of you who know what that reference is to, leave your comment down in the description below. Tell me what it's from. But ultimately, I chose red lasers, warp travel, and arthropod ships, and obviously all our traits, flag, Earth, because I wanted to start on Earth, obviously. Thought it would be I like starting in the Earth style solar system. Actually, here, I'll show you the failed one. These ones aren't too bad. This is the Rapid Breeders one. So this really was a pretty bad species. Rapid Breeders was not good in my opinion. I probably will come back and change this. And then you obviously have, this is called the Raxian Republic, and these were also Rapid Breeders. In the first two games that I played, both of these empires, I realized at the very beginning, were failing almost immediately, and I didn't know why. Ultimately, I think it's because Rapid Breeders really just doesn't help you for the long run. It really just kind of brings you down, in my opinion, actually. So, that's it for this episode. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you tell me that you want to see a Let's Play of this, and I will do a Let's Play. But I need to know that you guys will actually want to see it first. Obviously, if I don't get enough support on it, I might not do it. I might just do the occasional, like, this is what you might want to do, this is some help on it, something like that. But ultimately, that is it for today's episode. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Remember, tell me if you like it. And I will see you guys next time.